wearing my Yoda robe. I made this a long time ago. Made out of hemp. It's very snuggly, especially when it's cold outside. Man, it's cold outside. This is that weird time in March where it could be like, here in Kentucky, it'd be like 70 degrees yesterday, and today would be like 30 degrees. That sucks. How is it better than Florida, where it's like blasting hot even in the middle of January? Yeah, I don't even have heating in my house in Fort Myers. It's just, don't need it. There's like 2 or 3 cold days out of the year. Anyway, in a prior video, I'm going to edit that out of this video. You won't even hear me say that. Talking before about the fact that the ether is 100% undeniable. Not only does it follow Occam's razor, it defines all observed phenomena. It explains instantaneous action at a distance. It explains what's going on outside of a magnet. As I've told you before in the prior video, and you can verify this yourself all day long. All day long. All the prestigious universities, physics, they have the physics forums of like Harvard and Princeton and Chicago, and people will ask questions to these prestigious academic scholars. And they say, what is going on outside in the magnet here? So we know it's a magnetic field. It's like, yeah. But of course they've never defined a field, not even once. And if you ask them what a field is, they'll say lines of force, but there's no lines in nature. A line is not a thing. A line is a descriptor of something, and force is not a thing either, because it's force of what, by what, and upon what. So you just have a circular fallacy of reasoning, and by reasoning I mean lack of reason. So once you try to deny the ether, and it is a taboo word, it's like yelling out in the middle of a church service, like, "Hail, glory to Satan," or something. It's like it's the ultimate evil. You think I'm joking, and I said that humorously, but it really is like that amongst these people. You use the word ether, then you're like a pariah. You have committed ultimate sin. I don't mean that in an exaggeration. I mean that literally. But the ether is undeniable. If you want to deny it, maybe you think you're smarter than Tesla and James Clerk Maxwell, Oliver Heaviside, Charles Brodie Steinmetz. I mean, the greatest minds of field theory all said the same thing. The ether, of course, does exist. And there's a million different views of ether. They'll say, so-and-so attacked the ether. It's like, no, he attacked a false or ridiculous idea of the ether. There are many, many countless ideas of the ether. The implications of the ether, however, are profound. When you admit to what is undeniable, that being the ether, you must then confess to something else, which also, too, explains a lot of stuff. But before stating those things, I'd first like to point out the fact that I am nothing close to a white lighter. By white lighter, I mean crystal rubber, someone that's sticks chakra stones on their head and, burns patchouli and sandalwood incense. Not that I have anything against that. I'm not a New Ager. And there's a connotation of New Age, and there's a denotation of New Age, actually. I'm an old school philosopher and metaphysician vis-a-vis the Platonists, Pythagoreans, Neoplatonists, Advaita Vedanta, original Buddhism. Or what Gautama called it. He called what he taught Brahmayana. So we should actually replace the word Buddhism with the word Brahmayana, because that's the only time he was asked what his teachings were to be called. And he said Brahmayana, which means path to the absolute, by the way. The implications of the ether are vast. They're extreme. We actually have the human field, where humans actually have an aura of influence. We have implications, and by implications I mean real, where we make up our own reality and our own future. People kind of create their own hell and they create their own heaven. Where's that old saying that said, a man with a strong mind can make a heaven out of hell and a hell out of heaven? I forget the exact passage and who said it, but someone will tell me. I forget names. I remember sayings and passages, but I can't always remember who said them. Well, we create our own self-fulfilling prophecies where we generate this storm of chaos. Not that chaos actually exists, but near chaos, just radical insanity. Like, you're just busy, life is hell, and you know, you work too much, there's too much stress or whatever. We create this self-fulfilling prophecy. The implications of the ether is that we can create vis-a-vis our charge of the field that we have as individuals to either draw in or repel things. People invite evil into themselves. Some people would want to have argument with me over that. And this is not to say that the most innocent people in the world haven't been heinously attacked without justification. I'm not referring to that. I'm saying that people that look for trouble or whose minds are focused on trouble or ills or plagues and afflictions, they will manifest that. These are talismans on a different level. I've made a very popular video on talismans because it's completely unlike any video anybody else has made out there on YouTube, and I told people what a talisman actually is. You look up that video. I don't want to get into that and ruin this video. But this is also, too, a reason why stupid people are happy and intelligent people are miserable. Intelligent people overthink things, and they constantly are engaged in what-ifs. If this happens, then that happens, and if that happens, then this happens. Ignorance is bliss, and of course, until it bites you in the butt. I'm not one to praise stupidity and ignorance, far be it from me. But I'll give an example. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I know I fairly ugly. I mean, I'm not like, down in the 1s or the 2s, but people that are really, I know what I look like. I'm fat, bald, and tattooed. But there are people, I'm trying to make an example here. And women probably really know these people. It'd be like horrible, like physically unattractive men, for example. They could be like hairy with a unibrow, and they're like abusive and horrible, and they like brush their teeth in the morning in the mirror, and they go like, they talk to the mirror, talk to themselves. You're awesome, man. You're like the sexiest beast on earth. And they have a aura around them. It's like, how this person is so horrible, and yet they're all, they're broke, and they're horrible, and they're physically unattractive. But they have generated, via the ignorance, this positive aura around themselves where, good things happen to them. And, it's like, how could somebody that stupid? There's even books about this, but they don't talk about the ether, and they don't talk about the human field. I think one of the books is called The Power of Positive Thinking. And there have been these New Age people that are trying to milk other people out of money that make books and stuff like, yeah, think positive. And there's a saying like this. It's called fake it till you make it. You exude so much positivity, even though you're totally incompetent, that other people who are not that intelligent, they are sucked in by this vortex of your this person must know what they're doing. They're so positive. And yet when it really comes down to it, you don't know what you're doing. But the implications of ether are so incredible, and it explains so many different things. And this really does get back to that video on the talisman. And I really would like to kind of spend the last couple minutes of this video talking about that. And by the way, nobody should ever, 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 ever do this, because it's really, really dangerous. People talk about Ouija board. By the way, that the base of the video, The Exorcist, was based on this, poor teenage boy. I mean, it was a girl in the movie. It was based in New York, but the real story is a boy in Missouri. Anyway, I played around with Ouija board. He created, via the field of drawing in these entities. Of course, he didn't mean to draw in evil entities, neither did anybody else ignorantly. And I'm just using this as one example of a talisman. This is a reference to the human field. This is a reason why people need exorcisms. Not that many people, but they have another octave of a living being within this single body. Just as a xylophone has many different tunes on a single xylophone, we have another octave of another sentient being who's now inhabited the one body the other person solely was inhabiting before. And this, of course, is, the logical metaphysics of necessity for an exorcism. But anyway, getting back to that, should never play with it, should never buy one. Ouija board. Ouija board, a modern one anyway, is just a piece of pressed particle board. It's just junk with a little plastic planchette. It's just ejection molded Chinese junk. It's sold by Parker Brothers. I think Parker Brothers still makes them. Nobody should ever buy one. Nobody should ever use it. A talisman is a focusing object. It itself is not a thing of focus. You could turn anything into a talisman. Like, I could bemuse myself due to ignorance or whatever reason, consider this to be like a holy stone. I could like wrap it with gold and wear it around my neck, and I would, if I like was scared or something like that, I'd sit here rubbing the stone. It's like, oh, this is my protectorate. It's a talisman. It's a point of focus. That's what a talisman truly is. There's a Greek word for this, and I made a video on it. I don't want to get into that though. But people will, use this Ouija board, and it becomes a point of focus where the human field, vis-a-vis the ether, creates a vortex in another dimension that invites in all these evil entities. And the house, even though they left the house ages ago, it's still haunted as hell. They created a vortex that draws in entities, a portal, and the place is still haunted as hell. It went for 20-some years without being able to be sold. People would go in there for a day or two, furniture's moving around, literally. He's like, no, I'm not going to buy this place. Ignorant people, a materialist, an atheist, for example, which is what an atheist truly is a metaphysical atheist. That's what a true atheist is. That's why Ouija boards don't work. It's just a piece of particle board made in China with a little plastic widget that you move around. That's exactly what it is. I'm in full agreement with you. But what it is a talisman. It's a point of focus. And that point of focus is a bad point of focus. It creates a bad charge in the ether. You say a bad vortex. I don't care if people say charge or vortex. The ether is undeniable. Facts, logic, and wisdom necessitate, vis-a-vis fields, instantaneous action at a distance, magnetic fields, that the ether is 100% undeniable, and the notion of mutual particle communication is ludicrous, absurd, illogical, insane. It breaks Occam's razor. It breaks logic and wisdom. It breaks common sense. It even makes a child incredulous to talk about virtual photons, which don't exist, never been the input or output of any experiment. But yeah, I'm just using this as one example. There are countless different talismans. This is where I'll be agreeing with a materialist / atheist. Yeah, it's just a piece of cardboard, a piece of plastic. You're exactly right. There's nothing magical about what that thing is that Parker Brothers sells. It's not about that. It's about the field that focusing on that, on and with that object entails. That the nature of the ether relative to the person and the field regarding that person changes. And then circumstances manifest themselves by using that as a talisman. Let's say this is a Ouija board. It's not. It's a stone. But the same intent and focus is placed on the stone as that student. By the way, no one should ever use that object, by the way, okay? Never. Once again, dangerous as hell. Never do it. I place the same focus and intention on the stone. It will operate exactly the same way. I will create a charge vis-a-vis the ether relative to my point of focus. Bad things will happen. All the bad stories heard about Ouija boards, hauntings, all the evil stuff. Of course, not all of it's true, but it's a significant portion of it that it is. It does work. But what's working is not that piece of plastic and not that piece of cardboard. What is working is the focus, the field, and the ether regarding same and how that attributional nature is changed. The implications of the ether would fill up 1,000 videos at very minimum. All the things that we take for granted that are explained very, very simply by the ether. A fish doesn't realize the water that it swims in. Human beings do not realize the ocean of the ether that we swim in, that which is everywhere. It is actually technically nowhere, because everywhere regards a topos, or a place, or a Cartesian coordinate with an XYZ coordinate. It's like, where's the ether? Well, if the ether were anywhere, meaning a place, here, right here, right there it is, in there, then it wouldn't be the ether by definition. Ether by definition is pure inertia, the original definition of inertia, non-Cartesian in value. All fields are ether perturbation modalities. When people look out on the calm ocean waters, I don't know if you've ever seen the ocean when it was like really, really, really calm. Like, it's just glass. It actually mirrors the sky and or it mirrors the ground. It's like you almost really can't see the ocean. It's so calm. No, when it gets disturbed, we see waves, we see foam, we see spray, all this other stuff. It's exactly like the ether, these ether perturbation modalities. That fascinates people. When we look out on the calmest ocean, I don't know if you've ever done that before, seen it when it's really, 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 really calm. No waves at all. It's just glassy. That bores the hell out of anybody. And we're fascinated by the waves and the curls and the yada, yada, yada. There are so many implications that explain all this so-called quote-unquote bizarre phenomena that we witness in nature and around us, things we don't normally see. It explains self-fulfilling prophecy. It explains the power of positive thinking. It explains so much. It explains how people that are just, how cartoons used to be drawn with like squiggly lines above their head to indicate fear and frustration and misery and depression. Just being around somebody like that. It's like, I can't be around you, you're so miserable. Oh my God, you're so negative. People don't mean that by what the person says and how they act, which of course they do to a certain extent. They can literally experience that field around the person. Have you ever been around someone that's never said anything, didn't make a facial expression? You could just feel the suck of misery, like this vortex. It's just like sucking the life out of you. We call these people emotional vampires, for example. Have you ever met like somebody, like you're pushing a cart in the grocery store, for example? I know you've experienced this. And you won't even look at the person. You can feel like either incredible positivity, like, you just had like a bolt of sunshine shot through your heart, for example. You're not even looking at them like, yeah, that happens. You see somebody that's really, really drop dead gorgeous, not meaning what they look like. You didn't even see them. Or you could feel. Movies make fun of the fact, and it is a fact, of both animals, and animals are better at it than humans. Like the animal wouldn't see you, wouldn't hear you, wouldn't feel your vibration. It can sense your field. Human beings can see, they can sense like something creeping up behind them. The implications of the ether are so far-reaching. I mean, I could literally make 1,000 videos about it and bore everybody to death in the process. But the ether is real, not in the sense of real as in this is real. It is it's an object with an XYZ coordinate, with mass and magnitude and weight and measure. Not that kind of real. Real in the ultimate sense that it is an undeniable. Well, you can't say the word exist either, because exist means existence, to be outside of itself, something objective once again. Someday when human beings become far, far more intelligent and infinitely more wise, they will not just acknowledge the objective world, they'll understand the subjective world and the world of zero-point energy, the world of counter space, the world of the ether, the world of inertia. Some point in time, as long as humanity doesn't destroy itself between now and then. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye. This hemp robe is so comfy. I wished I had another one, but they're so indestructible it'll last me for the rest of my life, so why do I need another one? I guess I really don't. Yeah. Goodbye.